Well, good day, my friends. We are in Los Angeles, California today, right up on Sunset Strip, and today we're going to talk about a place that no longer exists, one of those classic nightclubs that I've always read about. We're going to tell you how Marilyn Monroe actually made a very, very important piece of history here, at least they say she did, and a very popular TV show replicated their nightclub environment for their TV show. So Daze with Jordan the Lion and you all, it begins right now. So at the time it was located right there. It's been since torn down, much like everything in this town. We would have once had the Dean Martin restaurant up here and the Trocadero, and down the street you would have had Ciro's and all the big restaurants for their day. But right here, the Mocambo, this was an interesting place because I'd done a vlog once before on the House of Francis. And it was basically a Hollywood madam that helped supply Hollywood celebrities with prostitutes. And so it was owned and ran by a woman named Kay Francis. And Kay Francis originally was the person who built the building here. It was originally called Versailles, and it was a club. And she had booked it all out and was planning a big kickoff and couldn't get the liquor license. So as much as she tried, she couldn't get it and ended up selling it to another man who couldn't also get the liquor license, but he opened it anyway and kept it open for about a year before they forced him to close it for operating without a license. And then it was sold to the men who invested $100,000 into changing it into a Latin American themed club called the Mocambo. That was opened January of 1941. As you can see from the photos, there was a doorway right around here and another over here, another entrance over here, and they would have a sign announcing their acts. So along with its Latin American theme and its $100,000 makeover, they built glass cages and menageries for cockatoos, live macaws, seagulls, pigeons, and parrots. So you could come in here and actually see the real thing while you were dancing. It became one of the most popular dance spots because of its big band music, and they were open till dawn. They could have 200 guests, and a lot of famous people not only performed here, but used to hang out here, dine here, fight here, all kinds of crazy stories. In fact, one of them was that in 1943, when Frank Sinatra became a solo artist, his very first performance for his Los Angeles debut was here at the Mocambo. Now, I mentioned that one of the most famous stories about this place was Marilyn Monroe, and it was actually something good that she did. She was a fan of Ella Fitzgerald, and she wanted Ella Fitzgerald to perform here, and originally the owners didn't want to book Ella Fitzgerald. The history book said it was because she was black, but they had had black performers before, including Herb Jeffries and Eartha Kitt. But apparently there were two reasons why they didn't want Ella Fitzgerald to perform. One was because she did jazz music, and jazz wasn't really kind of a posh music for that time. Wasn't something that their environment they thought would enjoy. But it was also because she was heavier, she was bigger, and they didn't think she would look as beautiful on their stage. But Marilyn said, I think you're wrong, and I'll make a deal with you, where she said that she would attend every night and sit in the front row and draw people to the show. And so some accounts say, well, she was out of town, she didn't do that. And then some accounts say, yes, she absolutely did that, and even threw a party afterward for Ella. And even though she loved her music, Ella Fitzgerald, it was said, didn't want to be friends with Marilyn Monroe because she had heard that she did drugs. Now, I mentioned that there was a famous TV show. My grandmother loved to watch I Love Lucy while she was making lunch when I would stay with her in the summers, and you would always see Ricky Ricardo performing inside his club. And that was based off of the showroom here. That was an exact replica, apparently. The Tropicana Club that he would use. Lucille Ball and Desi were frequent guests here, and they were good friends with Charlie Morrison, the owner of the establishment. The Mocambo became so popular that everyone wanted to perform here, including one of the most popular clubs in town, the Trocadero. Their house band left and came to perform here, and even Walt Disney's band apparently would perform here once a week. So let me give you a list of all the people that were said to have performed here in its very short life. It was only a club that existed for about 17 years. But in that time, you could have seen Abbott and Costello, Edie Adams, Desi Arnaz, Pearl Bailey, Jack Benny, Joyce Bryant, Marge and Gower Champion, Jeff Chandler, Rosemary Clooney, Nat King Cole, Perry Como, Vic Damone, Dorothy Dandridge, Billy Daniels, Sammy Davis Jr., Gloria DeHaven, Billy Eckstein, Ella Fitzgerald, Firehouse 5+2, which was Walt Disney's group, Paul Gilbert, Bob Hope, Lena Horne, Herb Jeffries, Alan Jones, Louis Jordan, Will Jordan, Danny Kaye, Alan King, Peggy King, Lisa Kirk, Eartha Kitt, Peter Lawford, Peggy Lee, Joey Lewis, Liberace, Gordon McRae, Martin and Lewis, Marilyn Maxwell, Tim Moore, Mae Murray, Mike Nichols, Elaine May, Amelia Rodriguez, Edith Piaf, Andre Previn, Louis Prima, the Ritz Brothers, Hazel Scott, Dinah Shore, Frank Sinatra, Danny Thomas, Gene Tierney, Dinah Washington, and Xavier Cugat. Now, it ended up closing in, I believe, 57, because, well, it didn't close, but Charlie Morrison died, and he had left the place in a lot of debt. So it was able to stay open for another year, and Frank Sinatra heard about the debt that they were in, even did 2 weeks of sold-out shows here, trying to raise money to keep it afloat. But just a year later, after Charlie Morrison's death, they showed up here one night and there was a sign on the door that said "Gone Fishing," and it never reopened. It was eventually sold, became another club that lasted a very short time, and then the building was bulldozed, and it's probably had 2 or 3 different things here since then. But man, I'd always heard about the stories of the Mocambo. There was a very similar story to that Marilyn Monroe story about her helping Ella get the gig here, and then some people saying that, well, Marilyn wasn't even in town. There was a similar story about Elvis and Jackie Wilson, that Jackie Wilson was performing his first time in Los Angeles and nobody was coming to the shows. So Elvis came, and Elvis was a huge fan, and when people found out that Elvis was there, every show after that was sold out, and it really gave Jackie a boost. And that was basically said what happened here. After Ella performed here, she never performed a small club again. I feel like in this town there's just always a story around every corner. The building may not be there, but the story still exists, and you can always go match it up. And this building, even though it's not the same building, it does kind of have the same shape and vibe and structure of that building, so I can almost just envision it still being here. So even though it's glass, where they have the doors, kind of where they would have had, like this set of doors right here would have been one of the entrances, and then down here. Too bad. I would have loved to. I mean, there's some great photos, so I'm going to show you a lot of photos that I was able to find of the place here. But if you want to know what it really looked like, just go watch I Love Lucy. And it's right directly across from the Mel's Drive-In, which was at one time the Ben Frank's. Then there's a funny story about this place with Bugs Bunny. Apparently they parodied the Mocambo in the episode Slick Hair. The people who drew it had apparently been people that frequented the Mocambo, and they got in the kitchen, and the kitchen was pretty filthy. So they drew it exactly as they saw it in the cartoon, with like grease dripping all over the place. And so that's kind of a funny thing to think about, because nowadays Los Angeles has health inspectors that come around and give a grade that's out on the outside of your building. But I can imagine back then that it was a lot more lax. All right, my friends, that's it. No more Mocambo, no more info for the vlog. There's very little out there about it, but I told you as much as I could find, and it's just cool to match up where it was. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great night, and goodbye from the Sunset Strip.